made it to the day we've been waiting for. We made it to May 16th. One of the great New York sports days in recent memory. We talked about it yesterday. It has been, you have to go back to 1999. The last time, on the same day, a Knicks playoff game and a Subway Series game. As we are in the midst of a Thursday night, that was kind of the storm, as was said in the update, and he's 100% right. The calm before the storm. Nothing local, everybody off. We are preparing for this evening. 7:05 in the Bronx. And that's what's great about it, too. We get to see the Juan Soto moment. And that's really the difference between the two things here. And obviously, the Subway Series, it's an important moment. And Juan Soto returning back to the Bronx and everything he's meant between these two teams and these two fan bases and what the offseason, as both fan bases waited to hear whether or not he was going to return to the New York Yankees, a team that he helped carry back to the World Series for the first time since 2009, or if he was going to spurn them for the new upstart led by the new combination of the greatest owner in sports, the most intellectually bright, smartest young executive in not only baseball, but what feels like all of sports, and certainly in this town, in David Stearns. And the New York Mets that this fan base rallied around last year, watched them go from one of the worst teams in baseball, have a team meeting, and go on an absolute run we will never forget. Which one was he going to choose? And we all know where he presides today, and we all know where he will return tonight, 7 o'clock, Madison Square Garden. And that moment is really what that game is all about, because I've talked about what it means in the standings and what it means. Like, it's more about this fan base. It's more about, tonight is actually, if you think about it, it's a combination of what unites us and what divides us. And at 7 o'clock, we will be divided as Yankee and Met fans in that building in the Bronx, waiting for Juan Soto's first at bat, waiting for the reaction from the crowd. Juan Soto put out some quotes today about 50,000 people versus one, and we'll get to that. But once that moment happens, once the game starts, it's a baseball game that is between two excellent baseball teams and more about a fan base, two fan bases, and how they feel about each other and all the nonsense that goes and all the fun we can have with it. But then at 8 o'clock starts the real business and what unites us as a city more than any other team we root for. Because tonight is a game that we haven't experienced at Madison Square Garden for the New York Knicks in a long time. And I know we say that, and it even gets mocked a little bit. Oh, game 3 was this, game 4 was this, game 6 was this. Yes! As the momentum builds towards what will hopefully be the crescendo of game number 6 tonight at Madison Square Garden, where the Knicks can slay the dragon of the Boston Celtics, the defending champs, and do something special that no one saw coming. We've seen this moment coming for the New York Yankees and the New York Mets. We have been waiting since the schedule was released, since Juan Soto on that December day decided to switch sides, decided to put a line in the sand between these two fan bases and make a Met fan feel like the days of the Yankees running this town is over. We've been anticipating this day, knowing exactly when it was going to come, ready for 7:05 on May 16th, Yankee Stadium. We knew it was going to come. What we didn't know, as a New York sports town, as 99% Knicks fans in this city, what we didn't know it was going to come was a team that made so many changes in the offseason. A team that blew up last year's team that we all fell in love with, who we think would have been in the same spot and in the Eastern Conference Finals last year, if not for devastating injuries. When they decided to make the move for Mikal Bridges and the 5 picks, when they decided to then go and trade for Karl Anthony Towns and make their big move for that next superstar, we weren't sure what this team would bring. And as we watched it over the course of the regular season, and it wasn't the same kind of defensive tenacity, it wasn't the same kind of team last year's was. We saw the offensive prowess. We had a back-to-back 50-win season for our New York Knicks. But ultimately, this was a moment nobody saw coming, because the Boston Celtics were better, because the Cleveland Cavaliers were better, because they struggled over the course of the regular season. Nobody saw this one coming. We've been waiting for since December, for tonight at Yankee Stadium. But the surprise of what we get to experience at 8 o'clock tonight, Madison Square Garden, is an opportunity, the likes of which we haven't seen since 1999, really, to win a series, or 2000, or the Eastern Conference Finals then. But this has been a dormant franchise that has a game in front of them that we will never forget. We might not forget the Juan Soto moment. We might not forget his first game back at Yankee Stadium. We might not forget this for a year when at the end of the season, hopefully both teams are in the playoffs. Maybe hopefully one is in the World Series. We remember last year that the Yankees got swept by the New York Mets. But we don't remember the particulars of the game. You'd have to go back and really scratch your head and try and break down exactly what happened in those games. The Yankees got their ass kicked. That's what I remember. I don't remember the particulars. It's a moment tonight. But what the Knicks get a chance to do is something that could live forever. This is a victory, the likes of which, and it speaks to the nature of the franchise and what they've been, and how dormant this place has been, how dormant that building has been. We joke about it. We joke about what Madison Square Garden has become. A place that tourists go to even when the Knicks are bad and they manage to, fill the building. And it's a place where Michael Jordan comes in and drops a double nickel, or Kobe Bryant comes in and drops 60, or other superstars, LeBron James, who spurns the organization, who wouldn't dare come play for the Knicks, but show up to the Mecca of Madison Square Garden and talk about the city and talk about the building as they just annihilated the Knicks and are heading to their next city. But I love to play here. What a wonderful place to play. But the games that were played here never mattered to the Knicks, not for the last 25 years. And tonight is an opportunity and a game that matters. And tonight is an opportunity to take down the defending champs who nobody gave them a chance to win, and win a series and move on to an Eastern Conference Finals against a team that is talented, a team that's been to now back-to-back Eastern Conference Finals, a team that knocked the Knicks out of the playoffs last year, but a team that is profoundly beatable. And as we've watched this Knicks team go through this postseason, and we've watched them give effort, we've watched them be terrible. We've watched them have incredible second halves and come from behind 20 points, and then we've seen them unable to match the intensity of their opponent. We saw it against the Pistons. We've seen it against the Boston Celtics. And Game 5, that third quarter, was an embarrassment and tough to wrap your mind around for a team that's supposed to be what the Knicks have been, and supposed to be a team that's capable of putting down an NBA champion and moving on to the Eastern Conference Finals. That third quarter and the level that the Celtics went to and the Knicks had no interest going is something that we're having a hard time wrapping our minds around, and having a hard time trying to justify the idea that tonight will be different. But this Knicks team has shown the ability to navigate these waters, to have starts like that, second halves like that, third quarters like that, and then turn it on the next night and come out and play some pretty damn beautiful basketball and figure out a way to beat these Boston Celtics. And tonight is the night with all the pressure now squarely on the Knicks. I didn't think that would have been possible considering the defending champs, but they've lost their superstar. They've lost their best player. They were down 3-1 in this series, and now nobody expected them to win this. And they get to come to Madison Square Garden with almost no expectations to do anything other than to give the Knicks a run here, and the Knicks have to rise up, forget about everything else, and understand that they are one win away, one good half away, one game finished like they've done 3 separate times in this series, away from having one of the great upset victories the franchise has ever had, and giving this fan base and this city one of the great experiences we've ever seen. Tonight sets up to be one of the great nights in New York sports history. And that sounds like hyperbole, and maybe it is, but you know what? We're slaves to the moment, and I'm no different than you or anybody else. So let's get ready for it. Let's talk about it. We can get into which one you're more excited about. We can get into the idea of being able to, at least at home, I know in the building it's going to be different. And if you have tickets to either or both or could choose, it's hard for me to imagine you wouldn't rather be at the Garden. But the atmosphere at both are going to be incredible. But if you are one of the thousands who will be sitting at home on their TV, and this is one of the nights where, sorry, honey, tonight's a 2-TV night. You got to set up the other TV. You're completely focused. You don't have time for any nonsense. You don't have time for any BS TV shows. It's not a Netflix and chill night. It is Knicks, Yankees, Mets on the 2 TVs. You get to see you're going to get to see the Juan Soto at bat before worrying about the Knicks who start an hour later. It's one of those nights that we live for here in this city, and I can't wait.